This will be the first ultimate Pars and Pours video that I've released ever. It's going to be, it's going to be Pars and it's going to be Pours. So hang on and let's get going. Welcome back to Pars and Pours. Jim McClear here, the golf-centric whiskey channel. If you would, please like and subscribe. Hit that stuff across the bottom. That way our viewers' subscribership goes up, and most of these get out to the Whiskey Tube universe. So, I have been waiting on this topic for a long time. All right, for those who don't know, I originally started the McGolf Custom Clubs YouTube channel. And because I've been in the golf industry from a custom fitting and repair perspective for a long time. Quite possibly, I am the most awarded repairer slash club maker slash club fitter that there is. Okay, and in this, we've seen a lot, we've done a lot, it's just what it is. And in the last couple of years, we took on to liking Scotch, mostly because we were going to go to Scotland on a golf trip and an anniversary, and so I took to Scotch. Well, we come back to Ohio a week later, and I'm coming to find out that Scotch is, the Isle of Scotch is starting to get squeezed because the bourbon aisle is starting to get bigger. I'm like, well, what in the devil is the whole idea of this bourbon thing? So I jumped into it. Well, come to find out, this bourbon thing isn't so bad. And being in Ohio, we're very close to Kentucky, we can go find out the particulars. And that's what we did in Scotland when we talked about the Scotches. I learned about the Scotches, I learned about how it was made, I learned about the different companies, and we went on several tours. And I found out what I liked and what I did not like. And so we had that same opportunity with Kentucky. Kentucky being 95% of the nation's makers of bourbon. Why not try that? Well, since then, we have completed the Kentucky Trail, which is 48 distilleries, which is now much more. And we are actually closing in on getting the rest of them in. And we're starting to see a turn. We're starting to see a turn where, you have the dominant brands, the old established brands are being challenged by a lot of the craft distilleries. When we say craft distilleries, that means they're just smaller, right? And smaller and craft and batch, they all have these very nebulous terms for ideas of small batch. For a small batch distiller, a small batch or a craft distiller, a small batch could mean 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 barrels. Where in a major distributor, a major established distiller, that could mean 2,000. Okay, and it just depends on your viewpoint of what's going on. So I thought this would be neat. And the idea of Pars and Pours. Well, what had happened was Penelope has been an up-and-coming brand for some time. They've been known for their finishing attributes. They've been known for doing a good, inexpensive whiskey that has been just, people that can enjoy. I have stayed away from that for a while, and then all of a sudden, if you can see it, you may not be able to see it. It's right across the bottom. It's up in here. I started with 1, then I got 2, then I got 3, now I got 6. All right, I got 6 of these bottles up there, and they're anywhere from the Toasted to the Architect to the Creme Brulee, and last but not least is the Project X. Now, why is Project X so important? Well, Project X is a brainchild of one of the two founders. Okay, one of the two founders, Pelosi, and hopefully I'm saying his name right. It's P-O-L-I-S-E. All right, Polisi. Polisi could be Polisi, and they have done very well in the way of finishing. Well, this one he's taken it to another level, and they have several versions of the Project X. This one is the finished cask from Jerez, Spain, and it is a sherry cask, an Oloroso sherry cask. They also have cognac. They have two others that are out there, and a lot of them found their way into Ohio. So I'm thinking, well, that's great. Let's see what this is all about. I'm not expecting a whole lot out of it, and then all of a sudden, it was something to behold. And I thought, well, Project X. Hey, I know a Project X thing. It is a Project X in the way of golf, and we're going to go over both of these because they both have kind of a historic, we'll call it not historic, but yeah, historic histories of the two. So starting out with the whiskey, if you look, that is massively, massively dark, almost red. The amber portion of it tends to give away. So you're going to see the Oloroso sherry impression on the bourbon already. Now we know that Penelope is owned by Ross and Squibb, or was MGP, right? And since their purchase from MGP, they have been doing some outstanding stuff. So this has been a very, very lucrative binding by the two of them. And the finished ones, the Creme Brulee, the Architect series, top notch. I mean, absolutely top notch. So we have and you can just smell the sherry coming off of that. So we have a group that has started off since 2018 and is making their way to the top of the whiskey world. Now, from the golf side of it is the Project X golf shaft. That's where we're getting off with this, right? The Project X golf shaft. Now, Project X was a brainchild of the rifle company. The rifle company was actually owned by the Brunswick Company. They date their time back to 1924. However, were they doing a lot with golf shafts back then? No, they're more about bicycle parts at that particular point. However, Dr. Kim Braley, he was a doctor of physics, okay, physics. And he is the godfather of frequency matching for golf shafts. It turns out I'm was one of two club makers in the entire state of Ohio that was an advanced rifle center. So it goes Brunswick, rifle, Project X. All right, that's what this one is. And the Project X is for a golfer that is an above average golfer. Now, enter into, and it's kind of a convoluted time frame, but enter in True Temper. True Temper buys rifle in order to get Project X and the rifle system, and they make it their own. During that time frame, a golf shaft designer named John Ohlenberg decides to get involved, and he starts coming up with graphite driver shafts, and this one is called the Hazardous. And these are in the 90s to 2000s. The Hazardous has always been a golf shaft that was made for the golfer that was a little bit better, a little bit harder, a little bit more aggressive swinger, much like the iron shaft. And so since that time frame, their acquisition from True Temper, they have built upon that. The Project X has become a category all its own. Now you see the Project X Denali. You'll see the Project X and the iron shaft in the LZ or the PI, or even flighted, which didn't really get too much traction. And you get these, so it's an upper tier golf shaft, right? An upper tier golf shaft. Now what we have is an experimental, or basically an upper tier bourbon. And look at me just splashing it around. That's just horrible. All right, so which one is this? This is the straight bourbon whiskey finished in Oloroso sherry cask, coming in at 108 proof, i.e. 54%, and the finishing cask origin is Jerez, Spain. Okay, and this one was from the Party Source, which is in the Cincinnati region. It's about pushing boundaries, taking risks, and putting innovation above all else. Now I have just happen to have another one of these up there, and it's by the group that picked it out was called Sherrylicious. We'll go with the Party Source first. So as we see it, it is massively dark. The sherry in it, it's almost like a plum or wine. When I am not a wine drinker, I will not profess to know anything about wine, but when I smell this and I put the nose to it, I smell wine, right? I smell a wine. It is predominantly wine too. Now, sherry is supposed to be a sweeter addition to this, and we're going to find out right now. So, cilantro. Okay, so you get the Oloroso sherry finish. I'm going to say Oloroso sherry because that's what's on the bottle. You get that wine flavor that comes through. It's almost a, I'm not going to say strawberry, but it comes very, very close to it is a fruity note, right? And i.e. wine. It is a fruity note, but it has a very significant finish. We're going to have to try one more. Now, I would have thought this would have had several layers on it. I get that wine or sherry finish. But all the char, all the bourbon, all that stuff is covered up by that particular finish. I get a bit of a sweeter note to it, and I guess that's a combination of the two, of like maybe the brown sugar and the sherry. Very nicely done. I mean, it's very approachable, to be sure. Okay, as we taste through this, you get the sherry right up in the front, but it's followed by your typical bourbon flavors, the brown sugars, the caramels, right after it. And then what you get is a light medium finish. It's not staying with me a long time. It's still there right now as we're talking, but then it's going to disappear. Wow. You get this almost this like liquid caramely feel at the very end. It's very, very nice. This is a pour I could enjoy quite a bit, even talking golf with you guys. I wish I could see what the level was in here, but the barrel or the bottle is so dark it's hard to find out. All right, one more through it. The wine part of it is died off just a tiny bit, and it's now starting to become more prevalent with there's the caramels and the sugars. And just like I've done in every other video, we're going to add just a drop to see what it does. See if we get anything extra. Because we always see that, right? You go to these tours and you say, oh, I'll put a little bit extra in there, a little drop in there, and that way it'll expand the flavors. Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. I'm about 50-50 right now. Holy cow. There's another one. Well, we're just above now. We're 3 for 5. Massive sweetness. You get now all of a sudden all the bourbon stuff comes forward. This is definitely a brown sugar. I would call this a brown sugar bomb now, at least in the nose. So now it's just typically just super duper sweet. It's like almost like a dessert type of bourbon. Yep, and it follows suit. It just absolutely follows suit. Wow. Just that one little drop, man, that's a deal breaker. That's not a deal breaker, that's a deal haver right there. Very well done. Man, we're just hitting it out of the park in good pours right now. Like that. So it starts out with a sherry finish, the sweetness afterwards, and I call it medium light finish, right? I'm not getting any oily per se, any oily detection on it whatsoever. However, with that one little bitty drop, it did open up some of the boundaries of it. You get this much sweeter task going on, and you start getting a bunch of brown sugars that just start coming through and a sweetness, but the finish actually is a little bit stronger now. I like this. So I guess with the darker bottle, it kind of gives you that wine vibe going on it, and the guys at Penelope are pushing boundaries at doing these finishing aspects. And it's just a massively sweet. This reminds me of the creme brulee one right here with that extra piece of water. Definitely something to check out. So, as we've learned that the Project X is something that, at least in the Oloroso Sherry Casks, are something to be seen. And if you happen to be into golf and you're looking for something that is, and you're just not quite getting the release or the control you're looking for, and you're pretty much an aggressive swinger, or you're somebody with a massively straight late release, you might want to check out the Project X. It's going to give you that medium-high ball flight that you're looking for. And then if you're looking at the driver in that same concept, they have the hazardous. There are different colors. There's blacks, there's silvers, there's reds, there's yellows. And each one of them have the different type of golfer that you would be. These are high quality, high modulus. The graphite in them is top notch. And so you can't go wrong with them if you're that better player. So hopefully you learn a little bit about golf. We learn a little bit about the whiskeys. And we learn a little bit about finishing. So what I said, this is a great pars and pours. This is perfect for the channel. It's the actual mock-up of what it is. And I'm getting ready to write down in my journal what I think this is all about. Again, if you see something that you like, please put it down in the show notes. Please ask the questions, and we will answer them. As always, let's see you save those pars, but share the pours.